Welcome to Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. This is not your typical financial radio show. As a licensed CPA, insurance agent, and investment advisory representative, Chris coaches his clients on a holistic view of financial well-being with an objective of providing a complete financial strategy to fund life's goals. Chris is here to guide you down the path to the financial serenity you deserve. Now, here's Chris Cooper.
All right, good morning. So we are fresh into the weekend off of a very important day for many people, many pet owners out there. And so Friday was National Pet Day. So I thought we should talk a little bit about pets. And I couldn't think of more fun conversations to have with pets about pets than bringing in my friend Brian and Kerstin, who have a very wonderful local company dedicated to healthy feeding for your pets. Brian, Kerstin, how are we doing?
Great. Thank you for having us.
This is awesome. I'm so excited to learn a little bit more about this and talk about Precision Raw. So what makes Precision Raw so special?
Well, Precision Raw is just it's taking, taking your animal that you brought in as a pet into your home, and you make the choice of how to feed that animal. The animal no longer has that decision.
Yeah.
So, of course, you want it to have the best life possible and live the longest, best life.
Yeah.
So, the best way to doing that is by feeding what we call a species-appropriate diet.
Okay.
And so, Precision Raw mimics what the animal would be in the wild.
Okay.
So,
now this is a kind of a hot topic going on in today's society, right? The American diet, and it's not necessarily exactly what we maybe should be eating, so to speak, right? And
Sure.
So I think that actually, if you think about it in the pet food industry, is almost taken to another level,
Yeah,
right? With kibble and all that stuff.
I think the question becomes, and this is something that when I have consultations, I always talk about to somebody, and just it's a common sense thing. So
Yeah.
I start off by saying, every animal was designed by nature to eat a certain way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's herbivores, omnivores, carnivores, and your cat and dog are part of the ecosystem.
Right.
And so they were designed by nature to eat a certain way. And I think everybody can agree that it's not kibble.
I wouldn't think so.
No.
It's, I mean, if we're supposed to not eat processed food, I would think that kibble on a day-to-day basis is super processed.
Yeah.
Right.
It's highly processed. As a matter of fact, I mean, you can hardly read the ingredient list. It's so processed.
Yeah.
And so,
I don't know. I thought on the bag it says like chicken and rice, though.
it sure does. That should be illegal. When they
And the
post those pictures,
the fresh food.
there is none of that in there. As a
No?
matter of fact, I was listening to a podcast one time about a gentleman that had his dog into one of the facilities that they made the kibble,
Yeah.
And kibble goes through a couple processes where they high heat all the food. They kill every single thing, and so they high heat process it. Then they spray a vitamin mineral over it,
Okay.
as to make it compliant with
Along with flavoring.
yeah. So before
So the
they
chicken
do that,
and rice is chicken and rice flavoring.
well, so after they spray that vitamin mineral, it goes through a process of spraying a fat on
Okay.
it, and that fat is an enticement for them to eat it.
Okay.
Before they do that, animals do not recognize that as
As
food.
food.
They don't know it's
Really?
food. They will not eat it. They don't know it's food. So until they spray that fat on there that entices them to, it's like crack for them after they spray that on there.
Interesting.
Because before they spray that on there, they don't recognize it as food. They won't eat it.
And the thing is, we wouldn't feed our children the exact same processed meal
Yeah.
for every day of their entire life.
Well, I mean, they'd eat Oreos every day for their
They
whole-
probably
sure
would. And guess how
I think
healthy
there would
they
be
would be when they
ramifications
would be
accordingly.
40.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
but you as a parent also make that choice of a
Right.
of a child. Of
That's
what
right.
that child is going to eat and
Yeah.
how and feeding it from the beginning appropriate diet.
Yeah.
It decides it for can decide it for life. I mean, it can
Well,
decide
and you
how
give
that
them an
animal,
advantage.
how that child is going to live for the rest of his life.
Well, and eventually our children grow up to make decisions for themselves, so we can
Correct.
train that behavior in from the beginning and help them make good decisions. But with our pets, they don't go to the grocery store.
No.
They don't earn a living. They don't make wages that give them the ability to make these decisions for themselves. We make that decision their entire life.
The entire life,
So we need to be cognizant of these things.
Yeah.
So what are some of the health benefits? I mean, I feel like it's going to be very similar to what we see in us, quite
There's
frankly.
almost no difference. I mean, you start seeing immediate results. I mean, it depends on how early you start the dog out when you're feeding this way. But if it's a kibble-fed dog, you're going to notice like the dog is, first of all, almost 80%, 90% of people's dogs are fat. They're overweight.
They are overweight.
And that's the reason for all the hip problems and all the bone problems and the dogs having a hard time walking as they get older.
Yep.
You know, it's that weight. You know, you have that weight on you, it's really hard on you. But, you know, dogs, you will notice first of all that they will have better coat.
More energy.
Okay.
They will be in a better mood. I always tell them, it changes their behavior.
Well, I know what happens when I don't eat healthy at some point. Like, you know, sometimes, you know, if you're on a road trip or something, you'll go get a burger or something, a fast food thing, because you just got to get something.
Right.
I feel it. It's not great, you know, and you feel it for the next day or so. So it can't be any different, right?
So I think one of the biggest things that we notice with pets is kibble has a lot of fillers in it. So fillers cause yeast overgrowth, and yeast overgrowth causes ear issues and biting of the paws and loss of hair in certain patches of hair. And you can only imagine how miserable that pet is for that.
Right.
So that's an unhealthy gut biome.
Right.
So
and they don't tell us these things that they can't communicate the same way.
Correct.
And cats and dogs are very resilient. They're very you don't notice that they are miserable.
Not feeling well.
Until it clicks, until it's too late,
Usually.
right? And then it is too late.
And then we're going to the vet.
Yeah.
And then you're paying money for medication and trying to do it in reverse rather than being proactive.
Right.
And it's the same with our health.
Yeah. Yeah. The earlier you start, the better it is.
Okay.
And you know, it's never too late to make that change.
Yeah.
In the pet's diet. And, you know, you notice difference in so one problem with kibble is, and this is the problem with mainly cats, but cats' number one killer is kidney disease.
Okay.
Cats die of kidney disease really early, and this is kind of how we got into this anyways. We had a cat that died of kidney disease early as a
Very
middle-aged
young
cat.
age.
Okay.
So we were like, man, this can't be right. Something's not right. And what happens is that kibble is just a dehydrated food. I mean, it's just it's like if you were to, you know, eat crackers all day long. We get all of our hydration, 70% of our hydration out of our food. And so animals have to rely on a water dish.
Right.
You know, and they don't drink enough. So they are in a constant state of dehydration, constantly. They cannot drink enough.
Yeah, and there's no, kibble has no water content, I would assume,
No,
right? It is zero? It doesn't feel like
it's
it would.
near
so.
zero.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty much near zero.
Yeah.
And so the problem is the cats and dogs, they can't drink enough. So the kidneys start shutting down, and that's what happens. So our food, you will notice it's just regular meats. So
what's the number one ingredient?
Well, it depends on, you know, our chicken blend is chicken thigh.
Okay.
You know,
The main
chicken.
protein would be about 80% muscle meat.
Okay.
And then you get 10% bone and 10% organ meat, of which 5% has to be liver and the other 5% has to be another secreting organ.
Okay.
Such as kidney or spleen. And we also add eggs and sardines for the omegas. And of course, egg is the, you know, number one vitamin and, you know, that you can possibly
Now,
eat.
and some of this is it pretty standard depending on one, like more dog or cat? It's a little bit different from that perspective.
Here's the difference
right?
between dogs and cats. Dogs and cats are both carnivores.
Yeah.
Cats are obligate carnivores along with ferrets. So cats can only process meat, bones, and organ. Dogs can process some fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, it can be a health benefit to the dog. It's completely optional for a dog. So a dog will eat it in a starvation. Their first choice is meat.
Okay.
If a dog has a constant supply of meat, it's going to eat.
Yeah. No, because my dog will like take a grape that falls on the floor, but it'll take it in the other room and then just leave it.
Sure.
So,
sure.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And-
it's probably playing around with it.
Yeah.
Mostly,
Yeah,
but
and you probably want to take the grape away from the dog.
Yeah.
But
I
things
mean,
like blueberries and carrots and kale and broccoli.
Everything. Mushrooms, almost everything is okay for a dog to eat
I don't
in
think
moderation.
my dog would eat broccoli.
And
You don't know until you feed it back.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
well, you can also steam it or
Well, I guess that's the thing, right? Because I don't think about it
Yeah.
the same
Right.
way.
Also,
right?
Chris,
but it makes sense for them. They're good. It's good for them.
Yeah. So think about also, when we eat junk all the time, we crave junk.
Right.
When you start eating a well-balanced, good diet,
Your body craves it.
you crave good things because good things happen, right?
Right.
So we like those good things.
Yeah.
So a couple things you notice when you start eating this way is that you stay really hydrated. So we have 2 cats, and we have noticed with our cats.
What kind of cats, Brian? I know this, but it's a specific kind of cat.
Yeah, they're 2 Bengal cats, and they're so much fun. But you got to know what you're getting.
So
into
these
when you get
these are
cats.
big cats. These are
No,
not.
they're not big, really large cats, but they're just
How big are these? How much do they
obnoxious cats.
weigh?
Oh, they're. I mean, a normal cat's probably 11. These are in their 15, 16 pounds.
Okay.
You know,
This is
so-
a pretty large sized cat, though, right?
Yeah, but they're
I don't
incredibly
know.
lean and muscular.
Very lean.
I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
and it's what a cat should be.
Right.
Lean and muscular. You should not have a big fat cat. You just shouldn't. Because, like I say, that's all just process.
Sure.
But what we noticed, the biggest thing that we notice about our cats is forget about when you go in somebody's house, you're like, oh my God, they have cats. I smell
you
the
can
litter
tell
box.
by the smell.
Yeah, you do not have that anymore when you feed this way. There is no litter box smell.
Really?
None. It's zero.
Interesting.
And the reason, it's just all that ammonia, and they're dehydrated. So think about when we are dehydrated.
When we're dehydrated,
yes,
it definitely
stinks like
Yeah.
beat. Yes. So,
Yeah, you can tell.
That's a big sign of it.
Interesting.
Yeah. And also, when you go, our cats have 2 large litter boxes, and they go in number 1 in one and number 2 in the other.
Okay.
The number 1 is filled with these huge clumps of pee. I mean, when our cats go pee, it sounds like a guy going pee. I mean, I always say it's like, oh my God. It sounds like a human going pee in there. And they're in there and they're
Because they're so well hydrated.
Because they're getting their water, which also water
Yes.
helps from flushing out toxins, all
Yes.
kinds of things.
So-
I assume I'm not a
that's true.
medical professional, but it makes sense to me.
Yeah,
So-
and the cats, they go number 2 about once every 2 days, and it's about the size of a Tootsie Roll.
Okay.
Yeah, so
and
they're-
that's
And almost
that's-
odorless.
Seems
No odor.
not as what's a typical? I don't know.
Oh my gosh, those big clumps of shit.
Daily, like multiple times per day?
Huge.
It
It's
really
just-
very
depends on their
different.
diet. I
Yeah.
mean, and it's different when somebody eats a very high processed diet every day. And, they might have way more digestive issues than
Right.
somebody who eats a well balanced, healthy diet.
Well, and I know you guys from some of the things that we've done in our past together, a lot of different, long distance exercise things. You've done a lot of long distance hikes and Ironman triathlons and stuff. And Brian, the fitness competitions you've done in the past, like in order to do those things optimally, you have to train your body. And it's not about muscle. It's not always just about exercise. A lot of it is nutrition.
Shoot.
Absolutely.
Diet is everything.
Yeah.
I mean, diet is 90% of everything you do. I mean, it determines the outcome of everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it all starts there, and then it goes from there, So,
Right.
And our animals are no different. And sometimes, I think about these people that are also athletes and they take their dogs out with them on runs.
Oh, yeah.
But now they're feeding them dehydrated food.
Right.
And so their dog is going to be twice as thirsty after they get back from a long run with them.
Yeah.
Or even playing out in the yard.
Right.
So, because they're just not getting enough of the.
The nutrients.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny that our cats are so well hydrated that we've seen them drink water maybe 5
handful of
times
times.
ever. They don't drink
Wow.
water
Because they don't really need it.
They don't
Right.
need it.
Right.
And
Because they get
put
it from
out
the
for them,
moisture in the
They
food.
never drink
Yeah.
it.
Well, and so we are boxer people, dogs. We
Yes.
love boxers, big chested brutes, right? But they pant nonstop because of that big deep chest.
Yeah.
So also would be dehydration, right?
Of course.
I just
Could very well
makes
be.
sense with the food. that, when your processed food is dry, giving them that more.
Yeah, we even talk about for our own health, like a cucumber having a lot more water content, or
You mentioned
like
blueberries
that.
and things like that too.
And that's watermelon. That's what you eat on a hot summer day. Why?
Right.
Because it quenches that thirst.
Right. And I think that when it's food, it stays in your body that much longer as well.
Right.
Right. So I remember that back from my Ironman days myself. So when nutrition mattered, right?
It's all common sense. It's no magic potion or nothing that we're adding to this. It's just whole food. It's species appropriate diet. It is what
real food.
It is what the animal should be eating.
Right.
And it makes a huge difference. And you get 3 to 4 more years. It's, 3 to 4 more years out of your animal.
And it's not just the longevity, it's the quality of their
quality of life.
Yeah.
Because
so it's going to help with bones and joints and things like that, I assume?
Absolutely.
Almost
everything. Their coat.
Right.
There's no.
Look at a professional athlete or just somebody that actually cares about being healthy.
Sure, absolutely.
It does. The diet does matter.
Their coat, their skin, their teeth. And all the things that we can't see that are going on inside of the animal.
I think it's a pretty clear argument of should we be eating processed foods or should we be eating whole foods? There's nobody, no one that can say, no, you're better off eating processed foods.
I agree.
So there is no difference with an animal. There's no difference. Why are we feeding? Cats and dogs are pretty much the only animal on this earth that eats a highly processed diet.
Yeah.
There is no other animals in the zoo.
What about Americans?
If it were so good, kibble were so good, they would feed the lions and they would feed the animals and they would feed them kibble, but they don't.
In the big cat country, they don't put out bowls of kibble.
I don't think so. I think when they feed the sea lions, it's actual fish. I think
exactly.
And I think that the lions and tigers
they get a whole chicken.
I think that's about, and they actually dangle it, right? So that they have to work
whole
for
chickens and all that,
like they're in the wild a little bit, right?
Why don't they feed them kibble? Purina's huge in St. Louis. Why don't they feed them a kibble? Why don't they feed them kibble at St. Louis Zoo?
Yeah, fair enough.
I guess it just doesn't have the same appeal if you're putting out a big bowl of kibble instead of feeding them
to the hyenas.
It's
big fat lions.
So there's a thought about convenience with kibble too, right?
Yeah.
So is it a different convenience factor?
A little bit, sure, but we try to make it as convenient as possible.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the things that we said. The reason, it is frozen. It comes frozen.
Okay.
And you do have to refrigerate it. Yeah, I know, right? You actually have to refrigerate this meat. You can't just keep it in a bin on the side or in a drawer.
Now, is it your company Precision Raw? So is it raw? Do they eat raw food?
Yeah.
So and that's which we don't eat raw, but our bodies are different.
Right.
Animals are very different, and they need that raw
because their gut biome is much more acidic than ours is.
Yeah. Okay.
When the coyotes in my backyard catch a deer, they don't first say, "Okay, somebody go build a fire."
Yeah, they don't.
We gotta grill this leg, this deer leg.
And the more you cook it, the more it cooks out the nutrient.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. So when you said earlier about high heat, what did you say? You said really it bakes it all out.
Yeah.
I can't remember the high heat processing is what you used, right? In the factories that make kibble, that basically just kills all nutrients,
all of it.
Which then they have to add the nutrients back in there.
But they have to be able to put it on their labels, so they have to have that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So then they add a synthetic vitamin back on.
Yeah,
got it.
Add a synthetic vitamin.
So do you guys have to add synthetic vitamins back in?
No.
That would make sense. I wouldn't think
but we
so.
do add eggs and sardines as a backer, which is an option, which almost no company does. But the sardines are high in omega-3s and 6s. And then your egg is
But it's from a nutritional perspective.
Vitamin.
That's why it's added.
Sure, it's great for their eyes and their coat.
Absolutely is.
Yeah. Well, and it adds some different flavor, I would think, as well.
Yeah. I do think that umami from the fish, I think that especially one of our cats really is attracted to that. But, some dogs and cats could probably take it or leave it. They get used to it.
Now, do you switch the diets up every now and then, or is it kind of like this is what they eat and you find out the right ingredients for them, or what do you do?
So the cool thing about feeding this way is that you can choose, a variety of different proteins, beef, chicken, poultry, of turkey, or different,
duck.
Yeah. So So there's a wide variety, and it is good to switch up those varieties. A lot of it is just because you don't want your animal to get used to the same thing all the time.
Rabbit.
Right.
You know, I mean, you can imagine just eating the same thing
Neat.
all the time. So sometimes it's fun to change those proteins up.
I think it gets them a little excited because we get excited over certain meals,
Yeah.
right? They're no different.
Yeah, and then different animals have different nutritional content in them,
Right.
So the profiles are different in all animals.
Yeah.
So
A beef liver could be is different than a chicken liver, for example.
Sure.
So what we do that almost no other company does as well is we add liver, but we do beef liver, pork liver, chicken liver.
Gotcha.
Gives it a wide variety. We do pork kidney, beef kidney.
Yeah.
So we try to pick as many different animal profiles for nutrient as possible to give that wide range.
Sure.
So
you are getting, even if you were just to always buy our chicken blend, which is our most popular blend, you would always get additional from as far as the organ base.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of the eggs and value from that kind of perspective as
And then
well.
if you have a dog, you can always add your own fruits and vegetables to it.
Yeah.
See, that's interesting to me. I never even thought about that. But I mean, from a nutritional perspective, it does make a lot of sense.
They are carnivores, so up to 15% can be fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
And they know this because in a dog study, they use a gray wolf. And the gray wolf in a starvation mode or where they'll eat some fruits and vegetables.
Go like
Some
berry
berries.
hunting.
As a
something.
survival mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, some
So
grasses.
it is the secondary,
Yeah.
and it is optional.
So they're not fully omnivorous.
They're not
right?
omnivores.
But
No.
look at me saying that right.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Look at that.
Excellent.
I thought I was going to have to edit that or something.
No.
Yeah. So it's all fun stuff, and it makes a huge difference in your animal. I mean, you can only imagine eating kibble all the time for every meal.
Right.
I mean, why do we do that?
Yeah.
It's marketing.
And it should
Yeah.
be fun. It should be fun to feed our best friend.
Right.
And you can do like a berry smoothie almost in a blender
Yeah.
and do it as frozen paw snacks and give those to them in the summertime.
The best part
make
about
it fun.
is the best part about it is they recognize it as food. It's what they should be eating. So they recognize
Sure.
food and they can't get enough of it and they want to eat the bowl that it was in. They want to lick the bowl. So
That's good.
Yeah. So it's,
So typically we feed our pets a couple times per day, right? Is that what you guys kind of would recommend still?
Up to twice a day.
Okay.
There is a lot of studies showing that a one-time day feeding is very beneficial.
Okay.
So, but if you're used to the dog eating twice a day,
Yeah.
and sometimes people have a hard time not feeding twice a day,
But it's not a
because it's-
human.
Yeah.
Right.
Because,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you can only imagine. I mean, dogs and cats and animals in the wild, it's their profession to eat and
That's
sleep.
what they do,
but
hunt
they
for
pray
food.
all
Right.
day long. And they may eat once a day.
Right. But we're
They may catch
we're
one
not
rat.
making our pets hunt for food.
Yes,
Right.
correct. Yeah. So that's convenience. But by nature, the dog has a certain beneficial. It resets its gut biome and everything through that starvation period.
Well, and there's a lot of studies on us too
Yes,
as
for
humans
fasting.
about fasting,
Yeah, correct.
right?
That's
That there's
right.
benefits of that from time to time. So,
Yeah.
But then let's also consider puppies. Puppies and kittens, you can feed them more.
Right.
obviously. They're
Yeah,
growing.
puppies
It's
are
so
different.
important.
Yeah.
Yes, up to a year and a half.
And making sure that they get enough calcium
Sure.
for their
They
bones.
have to eat
yeah.
3 times a day, and about 10% of what they would eat as a healthy adult.
Okay.
Yeah, in that breed.
Yeah. So, all right. So your food comes prepackaged, frozen.
Yes.
And then, so a little bit of a microwave time
No.
nothing.
We
I'm
just thaw
curious.
it out.
All right.
Right.
So it thaws out.
Yeah, it's no heat is to be added to
Okay.
any of our food because what happens is there's bone in there.
Gotcha.
Bone is fine when it's not cooked.
Okay.
The minute you cook it, it's not good. You
Gotcha.
can't feed it.
It would splinter,
Okay.
and hurt
Yeah.
their gut.
However, we do
Okay.
a fine grind. It's a pretty fine grind, but but still, you don't, and plus it cooks out some of the nutrient you want to keep.
Well, that's kind of where I was thinking is the nutrients.
See, this is what I'm saying. We, as a human, as the pet, we have a hard time. Yeah, because we cook our food.
Yeah.
we have a hard time not cooking their food.
their
Right.
food.
Because
Right.
it just doesn't seem right that you're supposed to feed it raw.
It's a little bit of a mental hurdle. That
It
you have
is
to
a
get
mental
over.
hurdle.
Yes.
And some
Yeah.
people, they do like to lightly steam. And if you home cook for your dog, they always say, yeah, if you feel better about, cooking the chicken thigh or steaming the vegetables.
as long as it doesn't have the bone in it.
Right.
You,
Right.
You can steam it, and lightly cook it. if that's what you feel.
And
But
then
we've
maybe
got to
do
understand
eggshell.
that this is an animal that we're caring
No
for.
animal in the wild cooks their
So
food.
they don't cook
No.
their
We're
food.
the only one.
Yeah, that's right.
And then also, some people bring up the whole safety thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I mean, it is important. We wash our cutting boards, we wash our knives, we wash our dishes.
Yeah.
So yes, it is important for us humans.
Some people will bring up the risk of salmonella. It's not the animal that has the risk. It's us.
It's
Got it.
us.
It's
so
us.
we handle
Yeah.
the food, right? Just like you would handle your own food, and you wash your hands after.
Of course.
Or you wash your fork. You wouldn't eat with that same fork.
Right.
So there.
And naturally, yes, if you have small children that are crawling around and you're feeding your dog, maybe you should feed your dog in another room and then wash the mat that the dog ate off of.
But I have a feeling your animal's not leaving this food around. I think.
Not
I mean,
a lot, unless they're spoiled like our cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our cats.
Yeah.
When his brother feeds their dogs and cats, they sit there and they wait for those bowls to drop.
Oh, I can imagine.
And the food is gone, and then
Seconds.
And then the
Yeah.
one dog checks all the other bowls to make sure nobody left
can
anything
imagine.
behind.
Yeah, I can imagine because I've seen dogs do this with kibble.
Yes.
I can't imagine with a good quality nutritious diet like this with
Sure.
what they would do. So from a behavioral perspective, obviously there's got to be a lot of health benefits, longevity for one, right? We're living longer lives as humans, even though our diet is gotten terrible.
Yeah.
Right.
Right,
And hopefully that changes.
Agreed.
We need to do something there. And I think our country is, light years behind other countries in this fashion. So I assume these same benefits that just make sense for humans exist for our pets as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, we can't always, there are a lot of things that play into it with breeders and just, genetics. But for the most part, just to be able to say I had my dog maybe for an extra 3 years, who wouldn't want to be with their best friend for
That's
an extra
right.
3 years?
Well, I don't live long.
And
so-
not have them be sick in those last 3 years.
Right.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Well,
You got quality of life.
Quality of life is huge because they do not communicate the same way. I mean, we lost both of ours last boxers within 3 months of each other. And when it goes, it goes. It just deteriorates so fast, and it is too late.
Yeah.
But I think you guys have some pretty cool stories about some people that have switched their diets and have seen big differences as well.
Constant, because you will see change. There's no way of not seeing change. It has to happen. I mean, you just, when you start feeding the way that they should be eating, the changes happen because they look how they should look. They act, behave differently because think of if a dog has constant allergies. Just like us, if you have constant allergies, you're miserable. Well, the dog's the same way, but it doesn't communicate that to you.
Right.
So it's behavioral change as well, and be happier. So it's all common sense stuff.
It is. It kind of just does make sense.
Yeah.
We want to be happier individuals. We want our pets to be happy.
Right.
So make sure that they eat well as well, because quite frankly, a nutritious diet makes us all better people.
Yeah, it's not a miracle drug. It's not just some pill you take.
It's not, but there's an education about it. There's a formula to it. There's a calculation to it.
Sure.
You just can't go out and buy a chicken breast or some beef and say you're feeding this way.
Right.
Because it has to have the proper nutrient and the proper balance.
In the right mix.
Yeah, in the right mix. And
that is
all
one thing that we have done already. But education is extremely important when you start switching over like this. Because, like Brian said, you can't just throw down a chicken breast and expect the dog to get all the nutrient and all the benefit. They won't.
Yeah.
So where can listeners go to get more information on how to be educated and figure out what makes sense and how to get started on this kind of a process?
They can contact us directly, or they can go to precisionraw.com.
Okay.
There's some good information on there. We are in the middle of making some big changes, and those changes are going to be celebrated, and we're looking forward to this.
I love it.
These big changes that are happening right now. But so some of that information is to come. But we give free consultations, and so they can definitely contact us directly, and we can talk them through it.
Perfect.
And there's a little bit of a transition period, from switching to kibble to raw. You can only imagine.
Yeah.
So that transition can happen very quickly, or it can take up to a couple weeks depending on how unhealthy your dog is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, this has been exciting. Nutrition's a big hot topic going on in our society today. I think we all need to think about it. We all need to think what we put into our body, because what we put into our body becomes what we put into our life. And that can lead to, health long-term and happiness and all that kind of stuff. So thank you guys for being a part of this. I love hearing about your venture here. And this is amazing, and how you're helping people and helping animals, which are passionate to you guys, and husband and wife working together. Always fun to talk to as well. So,
yeah, perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Chris.
you guys. All right. Thank you, Brian and Kerstin, Precision Raw, for coming in talking about pet nutrition today. Pet health, pet day, right? Just happened on Friday. We want to think about the things that are important to us, and that includes our little furry friends as well. They're part of our families, and we want to make sure they're good and well taken care of, and they have the right diet, because you know what? People are living longer lives. Why can't our pets live longer lives too? There's a lot going on in the news right now about nutrition and the importance of having a good, healthy diet, right? Well, that kind of makes sense. We want to make sure our bodies are fueled the best way possible to meet our health goals and objectives. And if we can stay healthier, maybe we can avoid some of those medical challenges that might come later on in life, right? We can maybe enjoy ourselves that much more as well. That applies to our pets. That applies to us as people. And you know what it also does? It also is relevant to our financial situation, right? We put the right ingredients, the right tools, the right instruments in place today. It can make sure we put ourselves in the best position for long-term financial success. Those are the things we want to focus on here at Serenity Wealth Management. Long-term financial goals, putting the right tools in place, the right vehicles in place to meet your goals and objectives. That's what we refer to as financial serenity. And you know what? You deserve it too. Check us out at SerenityWealthNow.com for more information and to set up some time to chat.
Serenity Now! This is Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. Request a free copy of Chris's latest book, The New Holistic Retirement, by visiting SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Serenity Now!